Good afternoon, welcome to Rundlii Gaming. We're going to be doing a video on the board game called Settlers of Catan. I've not actually done a video on it, so I figured I'd go ahead and get this one done as well. This is a how-to play video as far as the game of Catan. Now, I actually randomly done the tiles themselves. Normally I just shuffle them up and then just lay them out. And then the lettering, you actually put it in alphabetical order. There'll be little letters on the top. It'll probably be pretty hard to see with the camera here, but there'll be like an A on the top here, the B, C, D, E, and you just keep going around until you fill out the board itself. The only one you don't put a tile on is a desert here. The desert here doesn't actually give any kind of resources, and that's where the robber begins. The robber is this gray piece here. And then you're going to have a certain number of houses and cities. So like the cities here are the big pieces. And then you have some little tiny houses, but these look like your old Monopoly piece houses pretty much. And then you have the long rectangle ones, which are the roads themselves. So like these roads are just for connecting to where you want to build the new cities out. Now, how the game itself plays is that each turn, each player is going to roll 2d6 here. So the 2 dice here. Like in this case, I would roll a 10. Now, anyone that had a house that's adjacent to any of the 10s, like there's a 10 on this forest here, there's a 10 on this one here, is going to trigger their resources for that. So let's say if you were to get the forest there, you'd get one of these wood. If it was a field here, you're going to sheep. Then you have a couple other resources, like you have the bricks here, which are for that location there. Like the mountainous regions, you can get the coal, well, the rock. And then wheat for the farms. Now at the start of each round, well, at the start of the game, each player is going, normally what we do is we just roll off. So each person is going to roll either 1d6 or 2d6. So like whoever rolled the 12 here, let's say red did. Red's probably going first because I just rolled 12. What that player is going to do is then put down one house and then one road. So let's say they want to drop this one here. Maybe they want to get a lot of wood off of these two. And then they have the option of getting some stone here. And then perhaps they're going to want to build towards, because like wheat would probably be good, or the brick would probably be good. So we're going to go towards this brick here. Now you can only build a city within 2. So like right now this, because basically you're just building on the sides of these hexagons. So like in this case I put one here, and then a road here. I cannot build another city here, I have to expand one further. So let's say if I build a road here, I can then build there. Or if I build a road here, I can build there. Because it is 2 spots away from another city. Or town, for that matter. Now at this point, blue is going to place their city, their town, and then their road. Let's say they are going to drop one here. Maybe they want to expand a lot into roads. So they're going to try to get the wood and the brick here. And then we'll drop a road this way. And now, then it goes in reverse order of placing the second town. And the reason this is good is that the first player was able to take probably what they might have felt is the best place. However, then it goes in reverse order coming back, because that's when you get your starting resources as well as you get to choose before the rest of the players. So it makes it not as bad to be the last person as it might be in some other situations. So in this case, blue's going to put down their second one. So perhaps they want to try to double down on the brick here, well, the stone. So we're going to drop another one here. And maybe they want to go towards that brick. Well, actually, they might not need that brick as well. Yeah, let's go that way. Because maybe they want to go for this one as well. So as it stands, we have it set up as that. Now the red will now get to place their last one. And they were thinking about coming this way. Now they could go ahead and secure that now, which might be a good idea. Or they might want to expand somewhere else for now. But we'll go ahead and just build there just to kind of give themselves a little safety net. Because maybe they want some of the wheat here. Because this is one of the better wheats, or they can grab this one down here. But there's a little more probability that things are going to trigger off of that. So this is going to be the starting setup. So you have two smaller houses on each, and then you have 2 roads. So 2 roads, 2 little houses. You don't actually start out with any cities. There's 2 roads and then the 2 houses. Now, as I mentioned, as you roll, it's going to trigger the different resources. Now in this case, there's no one that's near one of these 10s, because you have to have an actual house or city near it in order to get the resource. The bigger cities, well, we'll start out with the houses, but the houses are the little ones, the ones you start out with. These will give you 1 resource of that type that you roll. The big one, which is a city, the cities can give you 2 resources of the same type. And that's going to be really good that if you already have some good squares here, you might want to double the amount of resources you're getting off it. Now, the game itself ends when there's 10 victory points. Now, each of these little towns are worth 1 victory point each. So right now, blue and red are both at 1 victory point each. The cities are worth 2 victory points each. And then there are a few more things here. You have largest army, and we'll kind of go over how you get army in this game. And you have longest road. So whoever has the longest road that's together, it has to be one straight, basically one road that you can link from one end to the other, that's at least 5 segments long, will get this card. This is worth 2 victory points. And then the army one's also worth 2 victory points. Now each player is going to be given, based on their color, one of these cards here. So for example, you have one for red and one for blue. What these are for is to annotate what kind of stuff you can build and what kind of resources is required to build that. So for example, if you need to build a road, these don't give you actually any victory points, but they do let you expand your road. If you expand your road, it allows you to build cities when they're a certain distance away. So this one requires 1 brick and 1 wood. Now you have a settlement. Settlements are worth 1 victory point. The settlements are the smaller houses. This requires 1 brick, 1 wood, 1 wheat, 1 sheep. So you need 1 of each of those 4 in order to build that. The city, which is the bigger unit, it actually replaces one of your settlements. So you have to have a settlement down. You actually take your settlement off, you put the city on there in order to build that. But in addition to doing that, it requires 2 wheat and 3 stone. Lastly, you have development cards. Development card, which I'll kind of go over some information on that as well, is going to take 1 sheep, 1 wheat, and 1 stone. So if you have the 3 of those, you can get one of these development cards. So let's say, and there's a couple different types of development cards. You cannot use a development card the same turn that you bought it. You can only use 1 development card per turn, but you can only use it after you've had it for at least 1 round. So to kind of give you some information as far as what kind of stuff you could get, first you have your knights. Knights contribute to your military. If you have 3 of these out, you get the largest army as long as you're the first person to get a 3. What the knight does is let you move the robber. And I'll go over more information what the robber does, but this basically allows you to move the robber, and it also counts as 1 army for your overall army. The only thing that it really matters on is the first person that gets up to the 3 knights themselves. Then also if you bypass this person with a number of knights, you also take that card as well. So like, let's say if blue player got 3 knights, they would then take the largest army. If red so happens to get to 4, and blue's still at 3, red's going to now take the largest army. So this can actually switch hands a little bit as well. Then you have road building. Road building is another card you could possibly get. You place 2 roads as if you built them. So you can just drop 2 roads adjacent to another road or settlement that you currently have. Year of Plenty. This one, you take 2 resources from the bank, add them to your hand. They may be the same resource or 2 different resources, but it gives you 2 additional resources of some sort of type. You have University. The University, you'll actually keep this secret, so when you get this development card, you just keep it face down, because you normally don't show these to people unless you use them. But this one actually counts as a victory point, so you can get victory points out of this. Not very many. I think there's like 5 or 6 in a deck, so it's not a lot of them, but they do exist there. And then you have a Monopoly. When you play this card, announce one type of resource. All other players must give you all their resource cards of that type. And for like Monopoly, let's say if I want all the wood at the table, I can say, well, I declare a Monopoly on wood. Everybody has to give me their cards that have wood on it. So that is development cards. Now, as I mentioned, we have one last thing to talk about here. Well, a couple more things, but we have the robber. Now, anytime a 7 is rolled on the 2d6, in this case a 7, a 6 and a 1, the person that rolled it is going to be able to move this knight to some other location. Now, let's say if blue was the one that rolled that. So blue decides to put it on this square here, or sorry, this hexagon here. This hexagon will no longer trigger as long as the robber is here, which can help block certain resources. In addition to that, they can choose one player that has a settlement or city on that same hexagon, and then they can steal a resource from their hand. And again, as I said, the knights can also move them, but they can only be used during that player's turn. So you could, let's say if red has a knight during their turn, it may come back to red's turn. Red can then use their knight in order to maybe move it somewhere else. Maybe you want to block a good resource of theirs, but it kind of gives you a little bit of the ability to steal off of other players, especially if a certain player is getting certain types of resources that you really want, but you've not been able to get so far. Some other things too are the harbors. You can trade different resources at them. So for example, you can trade 2 sheep for 1 of anything else. You could trade 3 of anything for 1 of something else. 2 stone to get 1 of something else. 2 wheat, something else, etc. And each of these ports are something different. You have to have a settlement on the outside here, on one of those 2 spaces that are adjacent to that particular little port there. That's really good for if you're wanting to set up a trade route. Let's say if you're getting a ton of wheat, let's say if you have a bunch of cities around the wheat here, maybe taking this wheat one will be a really beneficial way of playing. Or perhaps the closest thing you can get to is the 3 for 1. That may still be a pretty decent deal. Yep, and so how the turn order is going to work here is at the start of the round, each player is going to roll the dice. So let's say it's my turn, I'm going to roll the dice, I'm going to trigger all the 10s, those players get resources. At this point, there's no particular order in it. I can now build stuff, or I can trade with other players. The only people that can trade is the active player, which is the one that currently has these dice and rolled them, and whoever they want to trade with. Now they can be the middleman between other people, but for the most part, the only people that can trade, they have to either trade to or from the active player. Like in this case, if it's me, the only 2 other people cannot trade. They would have to trade either with me or wait till their turn. During trades, you can trade anything. You could be like, well, I'm going to give you 3 wheat and you give me a stone. It doesn't matter what you trade for. I can trade you my entire hand of stuff for 1 of yours. Probably not a very beneficial trade, but I'm sure it's feasible. And then afterwards, you'll then pass the dice to the next person. As soon as someone hits the 10 victory point mark, that's when the game itself ends. And at that point, whoever had the 10 victory points will win the game. And that's the only time you'll actually reveal your victory points off your development cards. You don't actually use them to get the victory points, you just automatically have them as soon as you've built it and you have those victory points as well. So, as I said, once you get 10 victory points, that's when the game ends, and that's the game of Settlers of Catan. Thank you for watching Rundlii Gaming, and you have a good day.